Hello, one and all, Dr. Stone, chapter 198, A Whole New World. And absolutely nobody's surprised. As soon as Chrome found out the Medusa could make everyone immortal, he got super excited, screamed about how it was bad, and then ran off to tell everyone. And I was really worried, his excitement would overshadow the truth about this chapter, the true discussion that needed to be had about what immortality actually meant, but thankfully, Sukas had stopped him and they actually did have that conversation. It is also worth noting we aren't actually sure if everyone is immortal or not. I mean, as Senku says, they need to do some testing to figure out if they can still, stave off cell decay and aging process. I'm actually rather concerned that Xeno described it as clinical trials. Yeah, knowing Xeno, I'm very, very worried about what exactly he has in mind. So, yeah, that's worrisome. Very, very worrisome. But moving on, we actually get to see what the result of immortality really is. A world full of old people. Really, really ugly old people. Who kind of remind me of the Pilgrims from Dark Souls 3, which is interesting. But yeah, when I first saw this page, I thought, oh, a bunch of old people, and I moved on. It was only when I started seeing other comments online that I realized this is the entire cast. Boichi actually drew the entire cast as old people. And we see Jen, Chrome, Kohaku, Luna's Stars. I think that's Magma right there. He went through the effort of literally drawing the entire cast as old people rather than just coming up with new old people. And I freaking love his dedication. For a single page, he went through all this effort. Oh my freaking god, I love Boichi sometimes. Well, not sometimes, all the time. But anyway, the bigger issue of this whole New World Order in which everyone's immortal isn't the fact everyone would look really, really ugly, but rather the fact there would be far, far too many people and far too few resources. Meaning that either everyone would starve, or we'd enter a dystopia where a tyrant plays God and chooses who must be purged via eternal petrification, which, oh, that's just a terrifying, terrifying term. Eternal petrification. That sounds so freaking ominous. I love it. And, that's the bigger issue for the future after everyone's, woken up again, society started up. The more pressing concern right now is the fact that this has utterly changed the face of warfare. Senku's kingdom assigned soldiers back in Corn City were only able to beat Brody, were only able to outsmart Brody because they charged first without any fear of death. Imagine an entire army like that, an entire army unafraid of dying. It would be terrifying, truly, truly terrifying. Seeing them charge forward without a hint of fear, knowing they can be fixed, knowing whatever happens to them can be undone. I mean, that would just completely and utterly change the face of warfare and could completely overwhelm any city, any country, anything, really. So, yeah, they really want to keep this whole immortality thing on the down low and say, oh, you know what, the Medusa can cure some wounds, but it can't fix death. Of course not. That'd be crazy. Though it does certainly seem like an interesting choice to loop Xeno in this secret, letting Xeno know that if he gets a group of soldiers behind him, they'll essentially be unkillable as long as he has Medusa. I mean, we've seen time and time again that Xeno has managed to, outsmart Senku, managing to pass messages along to Stanley and his team so they could come along, murder all of Senku's friends. So it definitely seems like kind of information that Xeno might end up using against Senku down the road to overthrow him, to take him out, to essentially make himself the new tyrant king of Earth. Though that is further down the road, because right now they both realize, okay, we have a much, much bigger threat we need to team up to take down, the Y-Man. Because Senku explains to him the Y-Man stopped broadcasting after he petrified the entire planet. That means this wasn't just, a static message he was sending out again and again and again. He was doing this on purpose. He was doing this with the intention of petrifying the entire world and petrifying the entire planet again. And once he accomplished that goal, he stopped. And that means that he is still active. This isn't some sort of, program running on the moon to get this done. This is actually someone up there, some sort of entity that has consciousness that can think, who is plotting against the Earth. So even if Xeno managed to, take out Senku, starts up a whole new city, starts up all this, sooner or later the Y-Man will make another move. He will attack the Earth somehow, some way, and try to repetrify everyone all over again. So they need to team up, they need to go to the moon, and they need to kick the Y-Man's butt. Huzzah! Or maybe not, because I am still very unclear exactly what the motivations of the Y-Man are. I mean, I said in my last video, and this chapter definitely seemed to hint at it, but what if the Y-Man created Medusa and then realized, okay, this is actually really, really bad, because everyone's immortal, they'll essentially run out of resources even more quickly, so I'm going to petrify the entire planet, let the Earth regrow, let it heal, let it replenish itself, so that way when people do start waking up, they'll be able to live longer lives. They'll be able to use more of the resources, and, a bunch of the statues will break anyway, so that's less people to deal with. Huzzah! I mean, that seems to be his motivation, but if so, it's been 3,700 years. How much longer is he planning on waiting to wake everyone else up? I mean, it feels like the Earth has replenished as much as is humanly possible, so I don't know. I just really, really don't know yet. Curious, very, very curious. But for now, at least, looks like Xeno has joined the Kingdom of Science. Huzzah! I mean, seriously, we all saw this coming a freaking mile away. I mean, the exact same thing happened when Senku woke up Hyoga, so they could face off against a bigger threat, Mose and Ibarra. This time, Xeno and Senku are teaming up to take on the freaking Y-Man to petrify the entire planet. Yeah, that's definitely a much, much bigger threat. And I'm sure at some point in the next 50 or 60 chapters, they're going to wake up Stanley too because he needs help to face some sort of bigger threats. I don't know. Robot sent by the Y-Man to wipe it off humanity. Let's go with that. Actually, that'd be really cool seeing Stanley shoot at robots. Oh, I'd love that. I would freaking love that. I'm also kind of curious what exactly is going on with Stanley right now. I mean, he's covered in this black substance. I mean, I thought it was lighting at one point, but it's the same in all the shots, covering the same part. So, I don't know. I'm actually really kind of confused about that. But anyway, it seems like for now at least, Stanley's being held hostage as a means of forcing Xeno to cooperate with them. Though as Jen says, is all just a big dog and pony show. Because this, for some reason, is really about Xeno wanting to, work with him because of the whole immortality thing, somehow, for some way. I'm still unclear on that. But at the very least, it does make clear that Jen is very well aware of the fact that everyone is immortal now thanks to Medusa. Huzzah! And, Chrome's like, wait a minute, Jen, did you overhear us last night? No, he just figured it out when he saw Suku's reaction. Jen is really freaking good at reading people's emotions and figuring out what they're feeling and what they're thinking. And, Ukyo has amazing hearing, so we probably did overhear their conversation last night, which I guess that just means among the core group, only Ryu isn't aware of the fact that Medusa made everyone immortal, which is interesting, very, very interesting. I'm curious about that. Oh, and also everyone just seems like really willing to forgive Stanley for trying to murder all of them. I mean, it certainly helps that none of them actually died, but still, Ryu's like, oh, just a justifiable act of war. It's fine. Let's not worry about it. Oh, Ryu is real a class act, especially when he goes back and lights a cigarette in Stanley's hand. Oh, that was cool. That was really, really cool. Oh, I love Ryu. I freaking love him. And speaking of cool, the shot of Xeno putting on his coat is just so freaking awesome. It almost seems like, he's coming out of the darkness into the light now. He's, leaving the darkness behind. He's leaving his murderous rampage time in the past, and now he's working with Senku for the sake of the betterment of humanity, for the sake of saving everyone. Well, more or less for the sake of, stopping the Y-Man from ruining his whole plan to become a murderous tyrant. But close enough, close enough. I forgot to mention this before, but Xeno's crack scars have changed. The X on his forehead was filled in before, but now it's hollow, which is interesting. Very, very interesting. He also has a light back in his eyes, just a little bit, which is a good sign. The light has always been a sign of his love for science and is more or less his humanity. And after 10 years, or I suppose 3,700 years, they have finally teamed up. They're finally working together to build a stone world spaceship. And all they need is some oil, some super alloys, some other bits and pieces, and they can make a spaceship. Huzzah! I mean, it definitely won't be that easy, but I don't know. I'm a little worried based on how this whole thing was framed up. We're going to get a time skip next couple chapters, and then by chapter 200, we're going to have them basically finish the spaceship, which, God, I really, really hope that's not the case. I want to see more of this process. I want to see every step along the way as they build this freaking thing. I mean, at times it would make a certain amount of sense, though. I mean, if they do skip like 3, 4, 5 years in the future, Suko would be much older than she is right now, but she would still look, more or less the same. Whereas if they'd done the time skip before they aged up Suka, the difference would be very, very noticeable, as it is right now, as we see her as a, adult woman, and it would have much less impact than it does now. We actually have to see, her surviving on her own for all those years, growing from it, instead of her just, being along for the ride as they're building the spaceship bit by bit. I don't know. I'm really not sure what to expect from the next arc. But please link the all down below. What do you think's going to happen next? Do you think we're going to time skip? What exactly is going to happen? And we're in Super Metal City, so they have to, start building up the Super Metal City somehow, some way. I feel like Xeno's going to get left behind along with some of the soldiers in order to start working on that, in order to start building up the city, in order to start reviving people and all that, and, getting a full factory underway while Senku goes back to Corn City to wake up his team, and maybe Brody. I mean, Brody's definitely kind of mystery right now. I certainly feel like he's, the best among Stanley's people, so it would make sense if, he agreed to work with Corn City for the sake of reviving Stanley and, just stopping the Y-Man in general, stopping the guy that tried to petrify the entire planet. Technically, the guy that did petrify the entire planet twice. Do you think Xeno can be trusted right now? I mean, he's certainly in it for his own gain, for the sake of allowing himself to become a tyrant dictator of the planet, but is he going to end up betraying Senku down the road for some reason? Is he going to, try to side with the Y-Man? Or after he sends Senku to the moon, is he going to, say, haha, the spaceship isn't actually designed to come back to Earth, so therefore you're stuck up there, so therefore I win, so therefore I can conquer the whole planet while you're gone. I could certainly see him doing something like that, but I don't know, I just really feel like he could really bond with Senku over the next couple of years as they work on the spaceship together. And by the end of it, Senku's idealism could, infect him. Make him say, okay, you know what? I'm done with the evil stuff. I'm going to try and be nicer like Senku. Not all the way nice like he is, but still just try to run things a little bit more friendly without so much evil dictatorship going on. Oh, and also, do you think everyone's immoral now? And if so, what exactly does that mean? Are they just slowly, decay into these wrinkled bags? They're barely able to see, move, speak, and that's going to be, their immortal lives? Or are they going to be, in peak physical health for 100, 200, 300, 500 years as they live essentially indefinitely? How exactly are they going to handle the resource issue of too many people and not enough food? Or are they just going to break the Medusa down the road because it's just too dangerous, because technology shouldn't exist? I'm not sure, but leave thoughts down below. Be sure to like, subscribe to the next video, and until then, peace!